Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and we're going to talk minimally about an old television show called The Phoenix, but we're going to talk wider range of that. We're going to talk about science fiction here, your favorite corner of the interwebs, to talk about tabletop role-playing games, science fiction, and some not well executed but great high concept television shows and movies, and what we can learn from them to use for our tabletop role playing experiences. So, thank you very much for being here. Yes, shitloads more shows nobody watched to steal from. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's actually a good thing because when we're stuck for ideas, just find one of these terribly executed but maybe interesting world building or concepts and whatnot, and then take from them. Basically an homage. It's stealing. It's stealing. But if it's for our own tabletop gaming and you're not using it to make money, nobody cares, and that's a good thing. Now, today I brought up the word words world building. But one of the best things about the special snowflake singular television show, and this one is I accidentally had it up here in front of my face, The Phoenix, and many others like it. Many others like it. Um, yeah, I hear you, Drew. Yeah. It would be nice if nobody watched Dune as well, because now everybody knows the greater plot points of it and such. Yeah, don't steal, just be inspired. I'm being facetious when I say that. But this show, and I guarantee you many of you have seen this. This is a wash, rinse, repeat um story trope, and it is done. I've got about 8 or 9 that I have listed, and this is back in my old days, back when I watched television and movies and things like that. And here's the basic concept that's actually going to work for us. So in terms of world building, one of the concepts of this uh, unique individual deposited into a mundane world is that our world building is very thin. You Most of these shows, you barely scratch the surface of why this person even exists, let alone the greater range and questions that arise from these shows. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put these in the camp of the mystery box. So these television shows aren't necessarily a big box of mysteries they never answer. What happens is they start out with no mystery to begin with, because the entire premise of the character existing is one big mystery. A unique individual, dare I say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's go to the movie. Let's do the movie here. So, sorry, I was trying to think. I was trying to come up with about a dozen of these, and I think I only got about 9 or 10. 1, 2, 3. I got 9 deep, but there's plenty more. So, the premise is a lone individual, usually our main character, is unique in some way. They have some special ability or power or capability. And again, they are deposited in a relatively mundane world. And sometimes they are known to travel lone roads. Other times they are coupled with a small cadre of family and friends. Other times there are skeptical but inquisitive individuals that are trying to protect their identity. And especially in a television show, each episode is about the foibles that happen concerning the special abilities and how this individual uses their special abilities. Today, what we would call that is not capacity. It is a niche form of entertainment where we get to see our main protagonists exercise extreme skill under duress. Competency prawn is called today. Competency is like a niche form of, it's sometimes it's located between drama and action, and I've heard it referred to as ABC 123, meaning that it is a story type where we see a problem, we see problem A, B, and C. We know our main character has special skills or capabilities, and then in our heads we know A, B, and C correspond to 1, 2, and 3. So we get our main character use skill 1 with A, skill 2 with B, skill 3 with C. ABC 1, 2, 3. Drew says, I already dislike the premise. I am so fed up with the lone hero that is better than everybody else. Yeah. and like I said, this is a wash, rinse, repeat kind of thing. But I'm going to try to make the argument, as a person that's a glass half full, I'm going to make the argument that this type of storytelling, we can use it to our benefit. So the first part of this is, and we're going to very quickly go through these, is a character. Yeah. Yeah, Drew says, exactly. I designed my own system to get rid of all the competency nonsense. Yeah, competency prawn. You guys get the point, right? And the of course, again, we get to see our main character. So this television show, and I'm using this as a prototypical one, is known as The Phoenix. And I believe this show starts with a character that is awakened from a tomb, in an Incan tomb, known as the Phoenix, and he's got a medallion. And this individual has these undefined psychic / oracle capabilities, and gets into a lot of trouble. And it's got vague references to Incan philosophies and religion, but really it didn't. We just had a main character who was able to walk around shirtless and solve issues with semi monk-like psychic powers. Okay, and we go on from this, and I'm just going to show you a handful of these types of shows that I grew up with, and how it was wash, rinsed, and repeat. So here we have Automan, I believe he was a computer program that had sentience, I think half hologram, and could make like solid light objects, which basically they would just take cars and stairways and things like that, solid objects, draw blue lines around them, and then they would just become real. They did this editing thing where he would drive in straight lines. So instead of driving in his Automan car, he would drive towards one way and instantly make a left turn, and they would just edit it so it looked that way. It was really, really funny. Yeah. Oh, wow. They even put Street Hawk in here. Some characters had super special abilities like magical powers or technology. Other times, characters had just very high levels of skills, far above and beyond. Here's another television show called Manimal. This guy could change into animals, and of course, they had the pretty bad CGI where he would change into like gorillas or tigers or something. And then, of course, you could tell there was an animal trainer off to the side, and he would change into a hawk or tiger or jaguar or something like that, and temporarily take on the form of an animal to solve crime. We have ourselves, here's one that was far more in the skilled department. There was a television show simply called John Doe. Mind you, other movies and television shows use the same John Doe as a word, but this particular show, I think it was only one season. One season, and John Doe awakens with no memory of who and where he is and what he is, but he seems to have knowledge of nearly every subject in the world, and he uses his special skills to help solve issues and get himself out of problems while also trying to discover who and what he is. We have another television show, Kyle XY. Um, and of course, here we have Kyle, shirt pulled up with no belly button. So is he a clone? Is he a robot? Is he an alien? And of course, he's deposited with with family and um, young people and close friends, and he has special abilities, and we have to discover who and what he is while also solving problems and navigating the real world. We have a old movie known as Starman, an individual deposited here from the stars, of course, with special abilities. And so you see where we're going with this, right? We have another television show called The Sentinel. I actually like the show. And this guy he had enhanced senses. All of his senses were super enhanced. His vision and his sense of smell, his sense of touch that would help him solve crimes and such. And we get some answers. And we end this with here we go. This is the movie that the television show was based off of, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy, special abilities, unique individual, kick-ass person destined to destroy vampires. We get, strangely enough, we get a little bit more backstory because Buffy, of course, is a vampire slayer and gets stomach aches when vampires are around, knowing that they are there to go ahead and kill them and things of that nature, so on and so forth. Now, why? Yeah, what was it, Kyle? Getting pretty edgy. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Hold on. This is what some of you guys have said. Yeah, Shiloh says it is a major pain in the ass dealing with these utopian fantasies where everybody's competent. Yeah. And yeah, do you want everything to suck in real life? Well, listen, these are the point of world building, because I hear you guys saying like Shiloh is like, yes, anything less would break suspension of disbelief. Sometimes, and I like both story elements. Sometimes um we appeal to our main character when they deal with issues that we ourselves deal with, and in our real lives, and we see someone overcome horrible struggles. And sometimes overcoming a horrible struggle can be something as simple as paying rent, or getting to work on time, or mending a broken relationship with a family member. Other times, we want to see people run, jump, and dive off of 30-story buildings only to land on the other roof, knowing that they got there by the skin of their teeth, knowing that, is that a little bit impossible? Yes, but could someone possibly do it if they were brave enough and foolhardy enough? Sure. Um, like the movie The Martian is an example of competency prawn, where we have an individual who has skills, they have problems, character has to match their skills with their problems and solve each one at a time. And in many ways, that is taught in like in the United States Special Forces. You're going to come up against problems. Do you have the wherewithal to not panic and deal with the most important problem in front of you first, and then deal with each one thereafter there? Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting these things as well. Does MacGyver count into that category? I believe so. I would, well, yes, but I'm going to make the case for these special snowflake shows. It just a minute. So I would count that MacGyver does count in this, in terms of the competency of it. Now, remember, in MacGyver, they tried to go out of their way to find real world solutions to the issues that were there. ABC 1, 2, 3, and and tried to endeavor to us that, given the situation, somebody could solve this problem with, duct tape, string, chewing gum, paper clips, things like that. Shitlord says you get in a horrible struggle and everything gets effed up. That's just what happens as soon as you win. It's utopian fantasy. Not. Well, that can't be true. Otherwise, we as humans would have died off long ago. There are people who solve problems on the norm every day. We just don't film them doing it. I bring to you the real world. Let's see. Rescue of woman truck driver. Images. I bring to you a real world situation that really did happen with real people doing real things like a movie. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if we can bring this up here. Okay, this is a real world thing, and people with high competency saving someone's life. And if you take a look to the very left of my forehead, this truck was dangling off of a bridge, and we really had individuals. Here's a better image of it. Well, maybe not so much better, but anyway, but you get the point. Truck dangling, very much like a movie with a person and using a cable line and all this kind of stuff to save this woman's life. Who truck almost went off the bridge. Now, yeah, life isn't always terrible. The thing is that those are the only things that we remember. That's what happens, right? Let's see if we can get it. Oh, here's a there we go. Semi truck hanging off bridge between Indiana and Kentucky. Real world. Okay. So yeah. Now for me, yeah, Shai says, yeah, the Martian was completely awesome, even though there is no way in hell he would do the Iron Man thing at the end. I know. There's a statistical anomaly saves a truck. Doesn't save the woman's life. That's actually not true. Individuals with high competency saved her life. The truck not falling into the river might have been a statistical anomaly, but statistical anomalies save all of us all the time. How many auto accidents have we not gotten into that we could have gotten into 30 seconds of time? So sure, but I think a defeatist attitude is that, because those of us that only see the bad things, we don't see the good things. Otherwise, like I said, humanity we would have died off long ago. He's like, oh, that's where I'll be living pretty. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me make the argument about these. Let's get rid of the Phoenix right here temporarily. So the best part about these television shows, mostly television shows, some movies that had some interesting foundations like Starman and things like that, is that the world building was very thin. And there are some players, while the attention is given to the players who make 8-story, single line, double paged backstories that nobody ever will read, and handing them over to the to the game master and expecting them to use every element of their 5,000 word backstory. That's not going to happen. Players, please don't do that. There are other players who would prefer to have emergent storytelling, like that. These are the ones who in Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy make, I'm going to play Fight Tour that comes from a village and is looking for adventure, and that's their entire background. There's no information about their loved ones. There's no information about where they came from. It was just village. What's the village look like? I don't know. Village. What do you carry? Chainmail and a longsword. Nothing unique. And the story elements emerge through the gameplay. And I would dare say that these very thin background stories and things, person wakes up and is an Incan warrior with special psychic powers. Individual wakes up with no memory but has great skills in all human knowledge. Person comes from the sky and is deposited here with very few social skills but has psychic powers. Individual wakes up gifted with extra senses or something. What I like about it Shai says, I guess I'm closer to Ohio. Hey, closer to me. That's awesome. Um, I believe that the great thing with emergent storytelling and emergent world building is that what we get to find out is, does your character have any family or friends? Let's introduce that and find out. Gives the game master plenty to pull from. Where does your character come from? Where do their special abilities come from? Are there other individuals? Um, are, are there other individuals who have similar abilities? And what I like about thin world building, much like fantasy can happen, where someone we do have the ability, and I actually support the idea of having a fantasy world if you're into fantasy and medieval styled quasi medieval fantasy gaming. Is don't world build at all. Just have people come from a city and walk out the front door and then build the world spirally out from that point. Start adding mountains because they just happen to come across a ridge and there's mountains. Or maybe when they come across there quantumly, there's a swamp or a desert or a rainforest or whatever have you. In science fiction, it's the same thing. We're going to travel the stars. Well, what does the star system look like? Don't know. When we come to game next time, you'll arrive in the next star system and we'll go from there. And what's great about that is sometimes it can be a surprise to the game master just as much as the players. And to really test your improv skills, this book is sitting in front of me all the time. Morkborg or Mukbore, Vast Grim, and OSR style. I got another one called Castaway, in the similar vein, where one of the things embraced by the OSR gaming is playing to find out, playing to emerge. That's why there's so many random tables and random events. And of course, random tables and events don't need to be rolled immediately. You can roll things up as you come along, but not knowing what's over the ridge and rolling randomly, and then storytelling, merging those things into the story and making that a feature, not a problem, but a feature in your world building and gaming elements is actually kind of cool. Now, unfortunately, when you have emergent storytelling, that means you're kind of seeing how the sausage is made as you're eating it. Okay. So some players don't like that at all. Some players are like, listen, if I get ready to talk to an NPC, I want to believe that my game master has prepared that NPC beforehand. I don't want them to roll a random name and a random profession and a random secret and a random physical trait and a random personality trait as I'm talking to this person, right? Some players feel like it removes the immersion. But again, randomness doesn't have to. Part of this is a performative. So we as game masters have to put on a strong a mask of course I know what's about to happen. Now I may roll behind the scenes, but I'm going to portray it as if it's always been this way. And despite the fact that it is like a Schrodinger's box of storytelling where maybe our characters have special abilities and we really don't know what their backgrounds are, but we're going to play to find out that if I roll special ability came from the total eclipse about to happen here in the States, across the States on April 8th, and I'm going to go to Lake Erie to go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to go see the eclipse. I'm actually doing that Monday, April 8th in the afternoon here across the United States. But anyway, I'm going to film it and everything. I'm going to try to. I'm really hyped to edit it and put it in like the intro or outro for the video for this channel. But yes, I heard about that Death Angel. Yes. Yes. All the architects are leaving us behind. Yes. Sad news about James M. Ward, one of a number of unfortunately people who help design the community, build the community that we have today about designing games and things like that. So you are absolutely right. I never know how to approach these things, except uncomfortably. So maybe I'm gonna maybe I'll do that at the end of the episode. I can't make a promise, but yeah. That's Angel's like nothing wrong with Kentucky or Indiana. I was born a Hoosier, grew up in Florida, and escaped up south to Tennessee. Love it here. Yeah, escaped up south. Yeah, you're a northern southerner. Shitlord says, I always wondered how it would be to try that style of world building where nobody knows about the world around them. It must have been like that in the Middle Ages, and I've played that a number of times. Um, if you want to throw great to test our ability to be creative on the fly, me myself and my old gaming group, we would do this often. We did this with fantasy gaming, sci-fi, superhero games, where it was literally like we played where even our character sheets weren't filled in. We just said, hey, listen, we're going to roll some random things and we're going to figure out what the world and the game is like randomly. So for example, going back to fantasy gaming, when we would roll random encounters, we accepted in our head canon that if we rolled it as a random encounter, that was a major part of the world. If we rolled orcs, apparently orcs are a major part of this world. If we rolled a sphinx or a ooze or a hatchling dragon, then that became the minute it existed, it became a feature of the world that we had to deal with on a wider scale, and we accepted it that way. So it's not a matter of too often when we play emergent gaming style. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Yeah, Midwestern life. Yeah, I'm not gonna post that up there, Shice, but you're right. Midwest life, man. We're a little bit behind the times out here. And as an East Coaster, person that grew up in the East Coast, it took me a little while to get used to it, but it's yeah. And there's some great things. Oh, I've done some amazing things in Tennessee and Kentucky and things like that. But amazing things. Um, it's crazy. But again, going back to the emergent gameplay, the emergence of the gameplay. A, we get to see how the sausage is made. B, we are on a tightrope and we don't know if we have a safety net. So, for example, some people want to make a character that knows their place in the world, and to play a character that doesn't know their background, that doesn't know where their abilities come from, that doesn't know what kind of enemies are out there. And honestly, like you brought up, I love how you put this. It must have been how you mentioned that. It must have felt like the Middle Ages where cresting that next hill had never happened, and walking further, you may have been like in the Lord of the Rings movies where the hobbits are like, wait a minute, no one's ever walked one step past this point, and knowing that wow, there are mountains out there or there are jungles out there. And honestly, I love that idea. Like, well, we don't know what's beyond this point, let's discover. And this really honestly works well if you play with a group of game masters, because there's some groups that are made up of nothing but game masters, right? They're just game masters taking a break and making characters. If you pass around your game world like that, that happens because maybe one game master has a hankering for the undead and vampires and ghosts, and then another game master is like, well, I like eldritch horrors and things from the unknown, and maybe another game master's like, I like things like I like fey creatures and have fun, and to mix and match those things in your world, it's kind of cool. It does really, yeah, I know. At some point, we're going to be those architects. Yeah, we're getting. Listen, I'm in my mid-50s. I I'm getting closer and closer. Listen, not feel no pity for me, but as a diabetic and somebody with that takes cholesterol medicines and has a family history of those things, I've lost little over 20 pounds, trying to get a good diet and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. So some of us are trying to leave a little legacy, even if it's nothing more than leaving things on the interwebs for other people to enjoy. Shitlord says, and yes, I do think that not knowing what was out there past three villages over was the norm for most people back then. Yes, and I think the we remember the old fantasy maps. Here there be dragons. You know, the fantasy maps are on the edges of the map. You see, like the someone drew dragons, but we today we would think that they were known as like hammerhead sharks and blue whales and things like that. But in their minds, they were these great monsters. And sometimes I feel that that's how fantasy gaming. How do I explain this? That the movie 300 is how people perceived what the world was like, even though today we may say, well, the evidence shows it really wasn't like that. And I'm feeling that in their head canon, that's how they saw the world. So when they saw a giant and the giant was a 6.5 foot individual, that in their mind, no, they really saw a giant. It wasn't them elaborating or making light of the fact that this person just happened to be tall. In my mind, I'm thinking, no, they really saw dragons, that scorpions were really these monsters that they saw. Komodo dragons were to them a real dragon when they really saw them for the first time. And so I think I think of fantasy gaming like that as well. Even like a harder, edgier fantasy. I still think like maybe eh, that big ogre. Sure, he might just be a hairy dude new thing, but to them it was an ogre. So I'm yeah, in my head canon, it's an ogre, right? Yeah, kids from the 80s. Yep, good point. We children of the 80s are going to be dead before too long, after which point everything is going to be going to suck for the rest of eternity. Hey, we 80s we 80s kids lived through a lot of things that have come and gone, a lot of changes. Just think about how we listen to music, just the different platforms, how we consume media, that things that have risen and fallen and disappeared from the landscape. Crazy. Blockbuster is a good example of that. Yeah. Des Angel says, I'm thinking about taking April 8th off, still debating whether to head north or west. I had already planned this like 3 or 4 years ago, before this time. We got hotel rooms, we got place to stay. I want to have my camera set up. Yep, the whole thing. Yeah, Shitlord says diabetes must be a bitch, but I bet you never had a smoking and drinking problem though. Nope, never engaged. Still don't. Which is I don't like the taste of alcohol, and never had an interest in smoking. I've never been. I don't have a what's another word to put. I don't have an addictive personality like that, which is good and bad. I don't know. Drew says, I think it's a misconception that people in medieval times did not know anything about the next hill. Shepherds had been a thing. Well, I don't mean a literal next hill. People couldn't travel as far away from where they lived, and I think some people were smarter than others. Of course, more aware of their surroundings. I'm sure many people lived by scientific method, but there were some people that were like, "Hey, we've never walked past a certain point." As a matter of fact, we still have people here. Though many of us that live in the states have never traveled far beyond their own state, let alone the entire United States, which is why most people in the United States don't even have passports, because the United States is so big. So yeah, there now now whether do we have knowledge of what's over the other hill? I think that's a different story to be told. But I'm being generalized, right? Like, of course we had messengers, of course we had people on horseback that traveled, of course. But no matter how much, like, we have never traveled past a certain point in our own solar system, our own galaxy, own other galaxies, there's always a point at which we don't know what's on the other side. So they speculate about, are there other dimensions? Are there new laws of physics that exist in our own world? I'm not addicted. I just enjoy it. Yeah, shitloads of yeah, it's not an American thing. Most people in Hamburg never leave either. Right. Now, mind you, we're pretty it doesn't we are a global community beyond that, right? I think more today people in prefer not knowing what's on the other side of the hill. We're pretty comfortable in our own shell. We just have access to more things and more knowledge. As a matter of fact, I would believe that in those medieval times, finding out more knowledge about people who live on the other side of the hill made you special. Those shepherds that traveled further probably had a lot more knowledge and a little bit more gossip than your average person, right? Especially when you see outsiders that have different skin tones, hairstyles, languages, body shapes, weaponry, food, and cultural differences thing, where it was very different. That came up in our latest 5th episode of Shogun that's airing on FX, which is on Hulu here in the States. Okay, so sorry. Um, the new reality of the interwebs makes meat space irrelevant anyway. So all those next hills. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. All right. So here's some other features of the let's put the Phoenix up here again. Here's some other features of the uniqueness of this. Again, and I've brought this up before. Sometimes we as players, we want to feel like badasses, that we're special. And having a world where the mundanes are not used to what you can do sometimes can feel very good. Now, I understand that there are players who revel in this. Hey, I'm Mr. Magic, Psychic, Special Skilled, Cyborg, whatever, and I can beat ass on normies, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. But there's also the idea of the emergent gameplay where maybe our character or characters are like the Phoenix with special medallions and psychic powers, but are there enemies that have the same abilities or contra abilities? Are there government agencies or religious organizations or ground roots society people trying to stop you? Are there legends of your capabilities that exist around? Are there dangers in using your abilities that have a long-term effect in creating other harms around you, such as causing diseases or mental afflictions or affecting the elemental nature of the world and making it worse? Are using your psychic powers, does it mean storms and earthquakes will happen in this region and you can't be there? I'm looking at you, Incredible Hulk, who is a badass, but if you lose too much, you lose control, you don't know what damage you've done, right? So yeah. um Death Angel Shadow says, remember, the USA is really like 50 plus different countries. Absolutely. By comparison, most European countries are smaller than many US states. We literally were a United States where a state is a nation. Yes, the founding of the country, if I'm not mistaken, was initially intended to be that way, where each state was intended to be its own nation. We just now are more united under federal laws and programs and with communication and the easy ability to travel across state lines. Literally going across state lines, just getting your car and go. We don't have stop points, or we do have toll roads, but those aren't state regulated in the sense of you don't have to pay a toll to get to the next state. So too often, depends on where you live. In East Coast tri-state area, there's a lot of bridge tolls and things like that. But yeah, Texas itself is a whole giant nation with its own army and military and infrastructure, far bigger than many nations around the world, right? So it was bigger than some not continents, but yeah, some nation states, right? So yeah, I believe statistically Texas has like a bigger military and power source and GDP than some small nations. So that's why also many people in the United States don't have vacation time um, in relation to the amount of vacation time people have from other nations. So some people don't get any vacation time. Others may get 1 or 2 weeks. I'm lucky. I'm a letter carrier in the United States. I earn 5 weeks vacation, and that's unheard of in the United States. So yeah, that's another reason why we don't travel too. The initial intent of each state was being its own country was effectively abolished in 1861. Um, yeah. I mean, right, because once and then we could go into federal programs and monies and laws and support for states that didn't have enough um, of their own infrastructure to maintain their independence and things like that. But there's some there's some speculative fiction that I like. What's the game called? Crimson Skies, Min miniature min Crimson Skies. Is it there's a PC game and images. Here we go. There's a this is an example. Let's share this instead of like a speculative fiction kind of world known as Crimson Skies. And again, this one had to deal with, I think it was the Great Depression caused the breakup of the United States into places like the Empire States, Hollywood. Wow. I can't remember all the other breakups, but it's really cool though. And it was a miniatures game in a video game about prop plane warfare. Yeah, lucky federal employees. My dad was a rural letter carrier. Yeah, we've got some great benefits, and but we have like a 60 to 70% turnover rate. It's weird. No one likes the job. Shai says you get a permanent vacation in Germany if you can feign mental illness well enough. Ooh. Listen, we got that here too. Don't get it twisted. We have that here. But another feature of the let's go to the Sentinel. Let's share that out. So another feature of the special individual is that we can stack on in a lot of these procedural shows. Our main character had a ton of stacked issues that they had to deal with, and they really could not turn to other people to solve those problems. And so sometimes when we have our main characters, sometimes they look around and go, well, why would my character step up and do this thing? Aren't there other people to do it? Science fiction, fantasy gaming, it's like, well, yes, my character might be a badass mercenary, but why wouldn't they just call the Space Marines? Or my character might be, a lone swordsman, but why wouldn't the community just call their own henchmen or yeomen or pikemen or something? And the reason is because we can't deal with this issue. You're the one with the special abilities. Your ass needs to step up. Now, we know that's an excuse by some players to try to get out of things because many players like to turtle up. But if you're the special snowflake in a world in which you're the special one, then there's no place you can hide behind. You're the one with the special medallion. You're the one that stepped out of the spacecraft. You're the one that woke up with no memory but has the skills of the entire knowledge of all human knowledge. You're the one that could speak any language and read any language and understand everything from body language to how animals speak. You're the one that can. You're the one that's manimal that can turn into any known animal when the night strikes or something like that. And you're the one that can sense the undead and evil, and you get tummy aches when they happen, and you're the one destined to destroy them. You can't hide. And that is a good and bad thing. You get to play with socially, you get to play with status. Do people like you? Do they hate you? Are you surrounded by sycophants and fans and paparazzi? Are you hunted? Are you exiled? Are you ostracized? Are people afraid of you because of your abilities? And you can push and pull on those based on players' actions versus what people think, and also uncovering where you came from and what you can do really can lead to, like, air quotes, level advancement for the player characters. Hey, my character wants to level up, and you could make that a gaming feature, which was actually part of the original fantasy gaming. You didn't just write down in your character sheet third level. There were times where, like, if you wanted to learn magic, no, you had to find someone to learn magic. You have to find the eighth monolith that takes you to the seventh circle of the star field. Maybe you must meditate for um a fortnight, and 3 days in a fortnight or whatever, on the hill of something during the full moon to achieve another form. Maybe to find out more information about your lost memory, you must travel to another state, or a dangerous community, or a distant planet, or a strange habitat orbiting a strange hidden nebula or something like that, and make that a feature. Maybe it's just not milestone in terms of, well, we played 3 games, you level up. No, make that a feature of the game. You have to go out, the quest for the rod of 7 parts. Well, you only complete that when you get another part for the rod. Making that a feature of the storytelling, that no, you must find the monk that was someone that is just like you out there in the world. And having that unlock other certain abilities to allow the players to uncover maybe more knowledge about who they are and where they came from. And this doesn't necessarily mean the players are amnesiatics, right? They haven't forgotten their memory. Maybe they just don't know where their powers came from. There's a movie called Chronicle, where 3 college students fall down a pit, touch a strange glowing orb, a rock, and they suddenly get telekinetic powers. There's no explanation why. They just do. It's just a movie, right? And so the expanse of their powers, where the strange red comet that fell to the sky came from. Is this something that normally happens? Were there other people? Was there a government agency that also found it and cordoned the area off? All these other kind of things. Death Angel says, I remember my dad complaining about how city carriers were hourly and got overtime, whereas rural carriers had calculated routes, and they used to stop marriage mail during those calculations. Yep. Yes. Those who don't understand marriage mail. Yeah. Yeah. A stack of mail without addresses that you also had to carry on the side, along with trying to sort everything else. It was a complication to delivering the mail that they didn't get credit for. But the other part was that rural carriers, whether they got done late or early, could go home, and we as hourly, well, you don't get to go home and get your regular pay. You got paid less. So Shadow says, I'm sure similar stuff happened on the city carrier side too. Yeah, 2 unions, each with their own gripes. Love myself some unions. Evil fighting evil. I know there's many people that are like anti-union, and I'm sitting back like, yeah, whatever. Stopping marriage mail sounds like yeah, it's really pretty bizarre. So another feature, me, I like to pull the little features out before we get out of here. Yet another feature of the lone main character that is unique and special to the world, like, for example, Kyle XY, is that it gives us space. What's I'm trying to think of the term. The hive mind. The hive mind is always more brilliant than we are. So while I think my idea might be good, the hive mind of the greater group of all of the friends that I'm playing with is usually much better. And so if we have our characters who exist in a world where they don't have belly buttons, they may come up with reasonings why they exist. And I myself have been like, well, they're probably clones. And whatnot, and they may say something to the like, "Oh, we were deposited here as alien probes to find out what humanity is like, and so we the alien race is going to weigh the either embrace us and bring us into an intergalactic society or nuke us from orbit and wipe us out. And we're here to save humanity from itself." And I might go, wow, that actually sounds kind of cool, because maybe next season when we play the game, we can be like intergalactic people, but we really haven't gotten to that point yet. That might be a great story. And so the hive mind, in a live method of your players speaking out loud about the mysteries of who they are, where they came from, what the greater world is like, and what they want to see in the game, much like people who view television shows and write in about their favorite thing in a television show. The writers may go, you know what, uh, uh, unlike Lost television show, but much like people speculating around the water cooler about what the new mystery is and solving that new mystery, we as in real time could say, yeah, my idea about them just being clones from a government agency, that's pretty limiting. And I really like aliens. And the fact that the players might be technically alien probes, I like this. Drew says the quality of a hive mind depends on part of it or not. You're right. You're so right, because sometimes the hive mind's a little bit like, maybe we shouldn't follow what they have to say. So, so yes, the emergent storytelling of what's going to happen when we crest the next hill is a feature, a scary one, but a feature of the game. For example, I might start out and say, you guys found out we're at the end of a 3-session arc, and say, hey guys, you all woke up from a government program, and that's why you don't have belly buttons. You were just grown to full adulthood. And then the next session, the next arc, 5-arc session might be, well, where did our memories come from? Like, were they real people or were they implanted? And that might be the next one. And then the next arc might be, well, the only reason the government had the ability to grow you into humans in the first place was because of a signal from an alien source. And then the next session might be, well, there's actually aliens here on Earth trying to shut down you human probes that were here to study, and the aliens don't want to embrace you into the galactic fold because that would upset the balance of the galactic republic or something like that. And so one doesn't necessarily preclude taking away something someone else created, but building on top of it, much like improv. When you have stage improv, the idea is that you don't say no, you can say yes, but, yes, and move on from there. Someone says to you, your relationship with your family is broken, and in your head canon you're like, no, it isn't. So you can say, yes, everyone believes that I don't have a good relationship with my family, but I know that not to be true. Let me explain to you how that isn't true, and to dissuade people of the fallacy that I don't have a good relationship with my family. Actually, it's that kind of thing. So, someone can, in improv, someone can accuse you of, you're an assassin and you're a spy and murderer. And you may think that's not true. And again, you accept it and go, yes, the rumors of that are true. But the fact is, I've been framed by an outside source, and I want to uncover who it is that blames me for committing those dangerous crimes, those unsavory crimes. So you don't say no, you just say, well, yes, and this other thing, or yes, but the circumstances are different. Yeah, ruling city carriers, mad respect to all y'all. I can't even imagine what he'd say about USPS, which is the United States Postal Service, which is not UPS. Package deliveries from Amazon coming on Sunday. We have Sunday delivery. whether you know it or not. Yeah, we have Sunday delivery, and here's the dumb thing: we're in competition with Amazon, and Amazon gets to use the postal service. It's really weird, but they have the freedom to use the postal service and still do to this day. We get Amazon what they call drop shipments, packages that they don't deem, it's either their overflow or they don't deem it financially necessary for them to do it, so they just drop it at the postal service, and then we do it. So do I deliver packages and step over Amazon packages knowing that they're the exact same package that the Amazon people delivered? Yes. Which I have such a problem with the Amazon delivery people that drop them straight up on the curb or the step, as if to show the entire world that someone, no wonder porch pirates can steal stuff. Just move the damn thing to the side so no one can see it from the street. Shitlords, he's so bad. Yeah, Death Angel said, I really love to play in a Traveler game or even GM one. Traveler's a pretty good system. I don't have the books, but I've played Traveler. And it's, of course, it's known that you can die in character creation, which is very funny. It's got random character generation. It's got a push your luck character generation system. Yeah, Drew says, I would not accuse people of being an assassin or a murderer. I mean, if it's true, what would stop them to off me? I hate that trope in television. You're a bad guy. Yeah. Yeah, porch pirates and head cannons. Yeah. Yeah, going up to people and telling them that they're the bad guy is not a good thing, because if you're right, they're going to off you, and if you're wrong, you just accuse somebody that you shouldn't have. Composite Prawn, good titles today. Yes. So, thank you very much for hanging out here today. And hopefully I can get some more work done on Obsidian Star. You guys know, like the ticker at the bottom about designing the game. There's going to be a bit of a shift in the mechanics of the game. Nothing big, but a more of the art and science of the light die and the dark die. I have been looking up prices for custom dice. It's a little expensive to do something like that on my own, but having a black and white D12 and how to do that is going to be pretty cool. Basically, what's going to happen is a light die is going to represent good things, and a dark die will be bad things. So when you roll the dice, you're going to get to choose. Are you going to roll 2 white dice, a black and white die, or 2 black dice? And if they are in your favor, certain things will happen. So the black dice represent a dark turn, and the light dice represent a light turn, and you'll be able to pick and choose between them. And so there's going to be a bit of a built-in what's the way I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, because my words are leaving me because it's so early in the morning. There's a built-in push your luck mechanism. So if you will want to roll the white dice if you don't want harmful side effects on yourself, but it also means you are giving in a failed state, you're giving the game master benefits to their end that may work against you. Whereas if you use the dark dice, you will get a greater benefit against your enemy, so that if you're successful, your enemy, not only do you succeed, but they will have a dark turn. So you may succeed plus, but failure means you get a dark turn. So light dice mean less results, less side effects on you and your enemy. Dark dice mean more side effects on you or your enemy. So, yeah. Death Angel says, I get a lot of my Kickstarters by USPS at that last mile. Seems to be a lot of DHL, FedEx, etc. to the local post office. What people don't realize is that DHL, FedEx, UPS will actually drive their trucks to the airport, wrap those packages in postal packages, put them on USPS planes and trucks, and then we deliver them at the other end. Yeah, they'll take it, your envelope, FedEx envelope, put it in a United States postal envelope, and then we deliver it at the other end. So other times they actually deliver them through the United States Post Office. Post Office delivers it to UPS. UPS then takes those things and then delivers it on the other end. So yeah, it's very much like that. Postal Service has nothing to do with earning money. The Postal Service is older than the United States itself. As a matter of fact, it is the first government agency to exist in our bylaws, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, before the establishment of the entire United States itself. And it is about continuation of government. It has nothing to do with like earning money in competition with other businesses. It has nothing to do with it. Is that a scam DHL's running, using the Postal Service to do their work? It's okay. It is as much a scam as it would be my restaurant buying its groceries from the local store and making a meal. You don't know what the ingredients are, but you are benefiting from the end result. So I wouldn't think it's a scam. It's fuzzy, it's gray. I suppose it would be worse if I had a restaurant and all I did is go down to another restaurant and order my meals from there and then pretend and bring it back. I guess, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I just made the worst analogy in the world. I don't know. Yeah, awesome. It's pretty much the only reason to have a government. That and firemen. Yep. Yeah, Death Angel says, I believe Ben Franklin had something to do with the establishment of postal service. Yes, the establishment of postal roads to it, so that this was back when farmers who were in Virginia and southern states wanted to do business with people in the northern states, Maine and Vermont and things like that. And they wanted to send correspondence to each other, like contracts. And the Postal Service was the guarantee that Shai's like, dude, that was a great analogy. But it's so that two businesses could do not only communicate with each other, but they could make contracts with each other. And the government was guaranteeing that those businesses would continue, as well as the fact that, here's another strange thing, someone from Maine and someone from South Carolina may not like what the government's doing. And the Postal Service was the guarantee that those two individuals could communicate securely about the downfall of the government by government protection. So the Postal Service is the guarantee that two people can communicate under government protection, no matter what they have to say to each other. So that's what the Postal Service is about. It's not about earning money. It's about continuation of government. Yeah, interstate commerce, 10th Amendment. I don't know. Yeah, it was about that. You know, if you're in South Carolina and you're a tobacco farmer, how do you can't leave home and go to Vermont, but you sure can give it to a messenger service, and it was a government mandated messenger service. No, we're going to get it to that person so you can have a business, so you have our government backed ability to communicate with someone, not a random, maybe it might get there, it might not kind of thing. So that's where that came from. Yep. And remember, each state was supposed to be its own nation state, and it didn't work out that way. But if you were going to be in your own nation, how do you communicate with people who are outside your nation without leaving your borders? Postal Service. So, or actually, it was there were postal roads, and it was a post office and things like that. Used to carry guns and all that kind of stuff. Kind of cool. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. We always diverge here on the tail end of the show. We do that. That's what we do. But if you're someone who's listening in, or you just haven't clicked the I'm tired of this programming, please like, share, subscribe, defeat the algo beasts that have come from the distant stars, and allow us to defeat the the AI algorithms by doing the like, the sharing, the subscribing, hitting the notification button and finding out when they're notified. Here's a little hint: we go live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time each day, so you know. But also coming up with ideas for the show. Right now, I'm just on a kick talking about maybe not the best execution, but some great high concepts and basically tropes. I love tropes, and some of those tropes are actually good for us to use and use in our games for social elements, exploration, being badasses, and creating problems and conundrums for our players. And some of these things, some of these old shows, they're a little funky. If you watch them today, you just roll your eyes. But most of your players have never seen these things before, so let's use them for our own benefit. Shai says it didn't work out that way because government tyranny overseen by the founders is absolutely inevitable everywhere. You are absolutely right. Yeah, if power corrupts, then absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that's unfortunate, but it's a cycle. We need structure to keep a society, but yeah. With all that mail talk today, I wonder if we should talk about the film The Postman. You know what? Maybe we will. Nobody saw that one either. And I remember as a postman, they sent out flyers to us specifically before the airing of that movie. I wish I still had it. They sent specific things out to us to advertise to us. And we're about 750,000 strong to go see the movie. It didn't work. It didn't help them out, but yeah. Stop. You're so funny. Shit lords. Well, originally we were a confederacy of 13 states, not to be confused with the CSA. There were going to people shot it down because of misguided wokeism, but there was going to be a show similar to the Man in the High Tower about what if the South won when it tried to secede from the 13 states, and what if they won instead of North winning, the South won, and people shut it down. But I think that would be a great storytelling thing. Horrible to imagine for myself and others, but a great concept nonetheless. And there's a lot of like what if fiction writers, like what if history changed. Like I still have a book about a time traveler that sent AK-47s back to the South so they could win, and how things would progress into the future. And there's a lot of like speculative fiction books, like what if history changed? You guys are so bad. Oh man. And I actually love your perspectives from being across the pond, because I get an opportunity to express, to analyze in my head like stateisms that are people who don't live here aren't used to. And I like those things. If that wasn't the case, I would love to do a channel on strange or different things we have in the United States that are not used to in other places. Like I hear about things like garbage disposals and walk-in closets and air conditioning. Not mind you, a lot of that stuff has spread worldwide and it's not so different, but there are some things that are strange, even to us people who live here in the United States, that when traveling to other states feels alien. Even the fact that in other states we have different names for counties and jurisdictions and the titles of our political leaders. Like we have, some states have aldermen, some states have parishes, some states have counties, some states have districts. It's all a mishmash, and it's pretty fun. And for us, we're so used to being able to cross state lines that it is a great way for us to travel and have vacations and things. But when people come from other places, to them it's alien because they're expecting one thing. For example, New York City and New York, and then they go to other places. They go to flyover country, the middle of the United States, and realize the two are completely separate. The languages spoken sound different, the accents, the food, the and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Shai says the problem was the founders created a constitution to prevent government overreach, but they knew damn well it wouldn't outlive them, but it was worth a shot. And listen, yeah. Oh, hold on. There's even more. Each state had too much power, and it was state versus state. When they wrote our current constitution, they have more authority to the federal government. Some would argue too much. And of course, like I say, it goes back and forth. When money is involved, money and resources, those who have the resources get the power to say. And so our federal government has a lot of resources, and a lot of overreach in things, highway systems, food, telecommunications, airlines, highway safety, those things. And those things are national. And so that means that our federal government gets to reach their hands into many of the states equally. When I say equally, I mean they have the ability to reach into each state equally. They may not do so equally, but they have the power to. So we're far more united as a country rather than individual states. Yeah. Shai says the problem was the founders created a constitution to prevent government overreach. Oh, I'm sorry. Each state had too much power. Yep. Most people know 1776, but they didn't realize that our current constitution is from 1789. And most people who, even here in the United States, people forget and we have to keep reminding them that 1776 was freedom from the overlords across the pond in Europe, the English, but those of my genetic heritage were not free until Juneteenth, which is why it's a holiday. Some people don't understand it, and then their misunderstanding, they double down on their ignorance of a thing. But while everyone was raising their fist to the enemy and going, yay, we've got a constitution and we're free, everybody wasn't free. So it took another like 90 years before the total population was free. So Juneteenth technically was the freedom of my people. So yeah, 1776 was just a Declaration of Independence. The Articles of Confederation were no big deal. The Constitution came later. Yep. Be that as it may, we took a hint from the USSR and ignored it Yeah. And listen, when you have rules, you got rules lawyers. Just like in our gaming community, you start putting down rules about things, and the first thing people start to do is start to figure out how to break those rules. And we have a whole multi-hundred-billion-dollar economy based around how to manipulate those rules. We call that our legal structure and our corporate structure and our societal structure. Yeah. No, you didn't, Shice. You're fine. You're cool there, dude. So, guys, thank you very much with our little segue, our squirrel isms into history of the United States. Listen, we did a whole series about the nations of the United States, how the United States is kind of broken up culturally and politically. We did a whole thing about world building off of elements of the United States, like if we were to take the founding of the United States and turn that into fantasy gaming. We did that. Maybe. Yeah, ignoring the rules in D&D is a good thing, though. We sure are. There's a great questing beast video out where he does 20 questions. You try to get to 20th level, and he asks some other pretty big YouTubers that they got together, and he questions them on. He reads a line from a book from 0th to 5th edition D&D, and they have to guess with which edition it came from. It's pretty fun. It's about an hour long, 40-ish, 45 minutes long, and it's pretty fun. With some ridiculous comments. Someone was like, this is why I don't listen to them, because I was like, dude, you write in that comment, you don't know what's written in every single edition of every book. Come on, get the hell out of here. Shay says, good point. We can talk about how to ruin Obsidian Star with rules lawyering and power gaming. There's going to be definite parts of that. I have definitely thought about how to break the game, and I think people should try to do it. When it's when it gets finished, I think there's going to be a need to try to break the game because you have to. You really have to get some really good play testing in. You got to get some players that are like math heavy, kind of. Yeah. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for dealing with my slight latenesses. But I get paranoid about the show having a. I don't want issues when we're streaming. So sometimes I'll like listen to a thing and go, oh, I got to start that over again. So, guys, thank you very much. We'll take you out with this. Please be creative. Don't be destructive in your fandom and in real life. Let's just ignore the things instead of trying to be destructive and negative, and create some positive vibes in the world. So thank you very much. Peace and tranquility. See you tomorrow.